right?
Well, just north of that, the first farm north of that school that Harold and I went to, it was their home. And I've been trying to think. Harold's mother died, when he'd be there he is there in the mark number 4.
I see him.
And I'm there and my brother's there too. And in school, we were in the same class. He was the one sat behind me all the time. And there was a girl in front of me, a Cronin girl was in front. Was there one? I don't think there was anybody else. Oh, Clark Whitten. Well, he's dead and gone. He never was in the service. His father was. But Clark wasn't. There was 4 of us in the class.
Clark Whitten is related to Harold. How is he, like a brother or cousin or?
Yeah.
He'd be first cousin of Harold's.
First cousin.
Fathers were brothers. His Millard was Clark's father, and Jim was Harold's father. And Jim was a World War I veteran, and he never really got over it. They had a family life until the mother died, and I have memories of her. She was a terrific lady. When after she passed away, they moved over onto the highway where that airport is, on 10 Highway, and you're going north, and there was 3 families there, I guess. One of Jim's sisters lost her husband, and she had 1 boy. I'm trying to find him in here. Yeah, he's the guy on the end there. That was first
Georgia.
cousin of
Georgia.
Harold's. And that's his brother Clifford, the next one younger. And Clifford lived up by Dundalk. He's dead too. In fact, is there any of them living?
Is Dorothy passed away as well?
Yeah, Dorothy was in, where did I go to see her? Or whether she was in the residence or in the hospital. I think it was in Children's Hospital. I went to see her before she passed away. She might have lived in the Oaks for the last of her days too. And Harold used to come to our place and stay, he'd stay for a holiday maybe for a week, because he didn't have a mother, and he was a great pal of mine, so my mom used to. Oh, see, I had a baby brother born in 34, and I was born in 22, so there was a period in there that just had the one brother, and I was trying to find him in this mall here too. That doesn't matter anyway.
He had nothing to do with the war.
No, he had nothing to do with the war. He wasn't in the war. But after we graduated from school, Harold and I both graduated with honors out of that school. Oh, you know, at that time you had to go to Shelburne or Hornings Mills to write your entrance examination.
Georgia.
So Harold and I was the only 2 in that whole collaboration that got honors. Mine was 92% overall, 100% in math.
We have 3 cats.
Harold was sharp.
So we're used to it. Yeah.
Really. And of course his family didn't have any money to send him to high school. And my 2 older sisters were going to high school. So at that time there was no school buses. You had to go to town and pay board So my father told me there wasn't enough money for me to go. so I didn't get to go to high school. And I remember everybody from here to the yonder was wondering why the little boy would pass with a 92% average, wouldn't go on and get educated. But anyway, one exception that most won't have, I went to university. In 1940, I went to Toronto and got a job at John Ingles where they made brand machine guns. And I was only there a short time when the company put up on the board that they would pay for the tuition for anyone that wanted to go there. So I took
your nuisance story.
Oh, he's fine. He's just fine.
commercial science to relate it to my job anyway. Yeah, I loved every second of it. Even the smell of the seats in that University of Toronto. And like I worked from 7:30 till 4:30, time to grab dinner, and then I think it was 3 hours every night. So there was no clowning around or anything, but I loved every instant of it. But from that point, Harold and I drifted apart. I don't know where he went, but the next time I met, I enlisted in November 42. I got my uniform, and I remember meeting Harold up where the martial arts thing is and so on, and he was in uniform. I remember I chewing him out. What do you get involved in this war for? When I get on chewing him out, he chewed me out.
Did you serve together then?
Yeah, because we were... See, I didn't have to go to war. I was, what do they call it? Special service, something like that, where your job was more important than going to fight for your country.
That's the same as Cole's grandfather, same thing. He was an electrician, and they did the same thing. They protected him, and I'm sure they did the same thing with you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And needless to say, I come from a poor family. When I left home, I had 40 cents in my pocket. And I had borrowed $10 off my sister. Of course, you got to look at this different than now. I went to Toronto. You could get breakfast, bacon, and eggs for 25 cents. You could have lunch for 15 cents. We have a dinner for 40, 50 cents a night. So my first paycheck was $27. Well, I've been working on a farm for $1 a day for 10 hours. That looked like a fortune. My second one was 35, and very shortly I was up to $75 a week. And I sat down and figured out what it would cost me to live, and they had war around collecting for the war effort, cash, and I signed up for what I really didn't need. Like I was rooming with a couple of boys from up in this country that never saved a nickel. If they got paid, they went to the bar and all that stuff. I made up my mind when I walked out the door from home there, with 40 cents, someday I was going to work some money. I was real happy. And they paid 6%. So you figure there was Chinese laundry done my that for $2 a week, and my room was $3 a week. But the three of us were together in a bachelor apartment, and I think you could live with about $1 a day for. And I signed the rest over. So when I got back from the war, I had a new car and $4,000 in the bank. And on Gordon Street there, you're looking to doing up, but there's 2 white houses. And I don't know which one it was that I was buying for $2,500. But I was a machinist, and when I got to that point, I met this dream girl after I got back from the war, and but what am I going to do? I'm a machinist. I love it. But nobody ever thought of driving to Toronto then to work or Brampton or anything like that. So I was stalling around. I had the cash to pay for the house. Anyway, I had a brother-in-law living out here married my oldest sister, and I come out to help one day. And he said, "Did you ever look at that house on lot 12 in the Centre Road?" And I said, "No." He said, "There's a Mr. Ferris who has it. He's an old man, and he's been trying to sell for a couple of years." And we died. So 2 days after that, I drove over with my father and took a look at the house up is where Bob and Joan lived.
Okay.
And it was like twice the one on George Street. It was beautiful. Banisters and all these things. But I was crippled from the war, and but at that time you could hire a man and you didn't have to follow him around on a farm. And I paid top wages. And I hired, one of the men I had was Carl's father, who was a terrific man. You always say, "Put father in that field," and all this. Her and I looked after the chickens and the cows and things like that. But he had one weakness. I paid him up every Saturday night, and we'd go and get drunk. Somebody bring him back maybe Sunday night. She made a good phone for him and everything. And he wouldn't be able to hardly tip his hat on Monday. And he'd say, "Well, so I'll make this up. Make this up." But because he was Carl's father, and he died while I was there for one. He was there all summer, and somebody phoned on in the fall. His work was pretty well done. So Jim passed away. There was something sneaky about it. Somebody gave him bad booze or something, because he passed away the weekend. And I thought I was going to have to finance his burial, but the Sheldon Legion buried him. Give him a great plot. He buried in Sheldon.
Because he was a soldier as well?
Was Jim a soldier?
Jim?
Yeah.
That ruined his life.
He was a soldier.
Jim was a soldier in World War I. Like, well, it was like when I got hit in the hip, and I hit in the head, and really it was a thing, I was teaching now. I was 22 when I went down to Juno Beach. I had all these 17, 18-year-olds that I was trying to keep alive, and I used to tell them, "Don't get caught out in the open." In the evening, the Germans used to come over with strafers, fighter planes that just skipping over the treetops, and anybody who was outside the one thing with that gun and cut them in two. And here was the guy that was doing all the preaching got caught at it. I had no girlfriends or anything, but I used to write to my mother once a week. And she'd always, sure, she wrote to me how things were going on the farm or something of interest to each other. But there was a big row of pine trees just behind where I was sitting writing this letter. And it'd be 8:30, just about, pretty much too dark to be on the slip trench to write. And this guy was past me. If I'd had my machine gun, I could have blown away, but I knew only a couple of seconds later, because see, all I have to do was just turn around, and he could be a mile away, and press that button. And see, one of them fighter planes can fire up to a mile, and they had 6 machine guns in each one missile, and that like that. I knew I had only a couple of seconds to live, and there was a hedge to my right. And I think I made it over. I don't know. But somehow I ended up with slivers off my spine. Below the belt and there. So, but another thing happened while we were there. For some reason, I went on the ship going over. I weighed 195 pounds. When I come out of France, well, they sent me home or sent me out. I didn't want to go. Weighed 120. So to give you an idea what happened, well, food was bad, and lots of times none of it. And maybe bad part too, we didn't have water for, when we went in, we didn't have water for. Well, they told us when going into Juno Beach that the wells would be poisoned, and we had this quart bottle on our belt. He said, "Don't be wasting it." So some of these goons, would take a glug. But I've been a farm boy and sat many a time to the back 100 acres with a jug of water and have to plow or cultivate till lunchtime, you better not come up for another jug of water, or your father would kick your ass. So I knew what it was to space it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so. But we were in there maybe the fifth night, and we had slip trenches dug at the lay in, and there's a jackass, a donkey, braying over in the field because it was over just had a funny noise, and I was the only farm boy. There was 8 of us in the. They said, "What is that, Wally?" I said, "That's a jackass." "Well, you go out and shoot it." I thought, you know, that animal's getting good water someplace. And we're starving for water. So the next morning, the first little bit of light, I took off in the direction I heard this noise. And here the big little jackass over in the orchard, they're eating grass, I helped you. So I watched them, I think it was on towards lunchtime, or it should have been lunchtime, noon, when a Frenchman come down with a bucket. There was a big little well in the middle of the orchard, and set his bucket down and started pumping, and the jackass drank away there till he was. Then I watched him for a while, and he wasn't frightened. He went on eating grass, so I went over and filled my water bottle and had a big drink, and I hear all these guys screaming, "Wally, don't do that, that water's poison." I said, "You see the little jackass over there? He had a couple of pailfuls with an hour or so ago, and he's pretty healthy looking. They come from every direction to get a drink." You can do without food, but you can't do without water. You know, just some guys go goofy.
Did you ever see Harold overseas?
No.
No.
Did you find that picture, Mother?
I didn't look for it. It's in that book.
Oh,
At
sorry.
least it was in
You
that
can be
book.
doing that one.
It was
In
in that book.
2003,
You took a bunch of them out one day and then you left and put it back.
Norman and I and Ray Hardick and Mary and Sheldon,
Joan's parents.
Joan's parents, went back overseas. I see Ray was a tail gunner in the plane, so he never was on the ground. We were back for the 6th of June, wasn't it? In 2003. And we found Harold's grave. So we have a picture of it. That was some of the things I had a very busy day today. This is Soldier's Day at the Legion, and then I had a funeral for this afternoon. A wake, you'd say, in Allison, and my son took me. See, this is the way I have to go. And for some reason or other, the pain will get so intense in this hip, if I don't pay attention, that I'll pass out. And I was scared to death. I had to walk. I have another walker in the car. When we got to this wake of Allison, enough people couldn't have reached from here down to the corner.
Wow.
We stood in the line for an hour. I couldn't stand an hour, so I had to. My son stood in the line up, and I just sat in that thing. Anyway, whatever that does, I passed out in the restaurant and shall don't ever pass out in the funeral home because they might put you in a box. And but anyway, we went through it, but I didn't get all the things done that I was planning on doing.
It's a lot to do for one day.
Yeah, we had some more pictures. Oh, this is what I wanted to show you. These are the pictures of. I don't need to tell you what that is. You can know what that is.
That's at Juno Beach.
Is it Juno Beach?
Oh, it's the towers there. And this is what you guys are doing. That's my name on that. And I thought I had a picture of. They have rows of them with all these names on them. On the other side of that one is the names of the ones that the Shelburne Rotary put on. Like, if you remember, like Ray Hardy, Glenn Ewing, and those kind of guys. that was $250 to have your name put on there. And my in-laws put it on, not my children. I had 5 daughters and 1 son. And the in-laws put up the money when that first was introduced. So that'll be 5 years ago, 6 years. 6 years ago.
More than that.
Eh?
More than that.
When
Is
that
that-
first
We were
started?
over there in 2003 and it was up before that.
My arithmetic. So yeah, it was there a while before that. In fact, there was, I'd say 9 or 10 of them all the way around, and you how's your head, so you have an idea how many
You never put them pictures back that you took out.
passed away there.
I took some, the picture of his grave you took out and got it made for that other lady in town.
Cole wrote down some questions for you, just in case maybe it might jog a memory or something. I don't know if you want to go through those questions after you're done with your pictures, but he's got some things that...
I should back up a little bit, when I got that job down there, they started me on lathes, machine lathes and all that kind of stuff. And I just loved it. You're working to 3,000 of an inch. And I was still 19 when they came to me and asked me to be a foreman. I said, no way. Because there were 40-some people I was going to do with. And some as old as my father. There was one chap, been in World War I and got hit here. And he was talking to me, he had a hole in his skull. And it
Really?
was throbbing there.
Oh, really? Okay.
So, but anyway, the guy that was the foreman, he said he'd been a taxi driver, great big sucker, about 300 pounds, dirty mouth. He'd come down and curse these girls if they ruined a gun or anything like that. So, anyway, I finally took the job, and that was another increase in salary. I forget what it was. I didn't have a minute's trouble. If they come down and said, we put out 50 guns a ship, they come down and say, hey, Molly, we want 5 more of this today in your ship. I go around and there'd be no argument or anything. I just pitch in and anyway, I hung away in that till the 2 lads were with me, he got married and took off, and I stayed with a lady up on North Queen Street. She spoke 2 languages. One was supposed to be English and the other was Scottish. It was hard to understand her when she was talking, but I didn't have much to do with it. She had a lovely home and everything. And I wasn't boarding, I just had a room. And I walked Queen Street to the restaurants for my meals and like that. But the long and then fiasco at Dieppe, we probably studied that in your history, where they sent 5,000 Canadians over there to have a landing, and for about 48 hours there, I guess they had 2,219 was all they took off, out of the 5,000. The Germans knew they were coming, and Dieppe, we were back there in 2004, and I don't think I got a picture of it here. But the roll of cliffs and the beach is all stones about so big. When they unloaded the tanks out of the ship, LCTs, the tanks, with the front open down and drive them off, and they got these stones that just sat there. They couldn't.
They wouldn't move.
They wouldn't move. So, the Germans just slaughtered them. So I decided then that I should get involved, and it took me a couple of months to get from under this. I haven't got the right name for this protective thing that they want to do. They used it for farm boys too. Well, for example, my next brother, younger than me, my father had cancer when I was 12 years old. And he was a young man when he went away for treatment, and he came back, he was old. And he couldn't handle our farm. We had a lovely farm. Well, it's the Wallace Potato Farm over there, if you know where that is.
Yeah.
And Norman, he had to stay there then and help Father run the farm. And he didn't have to go, and when I got out one of this other thing, I had a great desire to be a fighter pilot. It didn't work out. I should have known right from the start. My records and everything going in there with all these marvelous things that this boy had done with machine guns. You know where he ended up, Brim gunner. And I figured out that I'd made 7,000 with them. But anyway, you know, it was, when it come time to go in at Juno Beach, it was just like an old friend, you know. And if they said, shoot that fellow there, I'd say, where do you want him hit? There was guys that couldn't hit a barn if he was locked in the barn. Man, could I ever hit him. I had a German fighter plane coming out in on us when we were in there, and I waited till he got to about 5,000 feet, and there was 30 shells in the clip on the Bren gun, and I put about 15 of them in the cockpit with the pilot, so you know what happened to the pilot. I've seen guys, they were just wasting ammunition. It was such a powerful gun, you couldn't hold it up to your shoulder. You had to get it on your hip here. And if you're almost too tall to have a guy that was powerful in the arms to hold it. And you shot it just like playing the piano. If you pull that trigger back, it would just go like this. It was so powerful, it just lift you off your feet. But if you just kept tickling it, it would just... And then the rest of the thing, it came, I don't know, from instinct or something, to be able to hit something that would be 5,000 feet a mile. So I was pretty proud of myself too, so, to be able to do that.
Is that what you mostly used, or was it other things? Was that the weapon you mostly used, or just sometimes?
Well, that was I was assigned that to go in an invasion, and I had special training before in England before we did. I like the same with well, I guess started in Montreal hand-to-hand combat. But I wouldn't need a gun to kill you. I could kill you with my hand. An old hand, I could still do it. Just know where to hit a person.
And would Harold have had the same kind of training?
You get this. In that boat, when we left Southampton to go over to get ready to go in at Juno Beach, there was a French-Canadian guy from out in Saskatchewan. He came to me and he said, Wally, I don't know how to load my rifle. I couldn't pass out. Here we're going into combat. I said, well, what are you doing when we had 2 months of extensive training? I said, what did you do when we were supposed to be learning all this stuff? Well, he said, I'd sneak away and go up to the canteen right here. I said, I sure hope the Germans get you in there, because we were counting on you.
There's 2 pictures of his grave, but you took the 3 best ones out and I didn't find back.
That hard there?
Yes.
I think Joan might have gotten a picture of his grave. I'm not sure if it was hers or whether it came from you. I'm not sure.
Could have been from us. You got some taken off someone gave to that lady at the Legion.
Oh, I couldn't remember if I put them back in.
You never put them back. It's hard to read the inscription on them. So how many are going over in November?
About 30, right, Cole?
Yes, sir.
About 30 kids going next year?
How many?
30.
Good. That's a great trip. And
We just want it back.
Okay.
Sorry you wait.
That's okay.
There's a magnifying glass.
Do you know any more of Harold's friends? There was yourself.
Well, you see, if Harold was living, he'd be 88.
Okay.
And I can't think of anyone, who was still living.
Thanks, Will.
Those graves are well looked after over there.
That's what I hear.
Flowers and that, and little Canadian flags. And on Christmas Eve every year they go on like
There's a German
candle on
bunker.
every grave.
They had them about every quarter of a mile up the beach. And you take a look at the top of that, you could hit that with a shell and it wouldn't break down. But the only thing is, look at it where I'm sitting. If there was a bunch of Germans in there firing out, if you were good with a Bren machine gun, you could pick them off.
Think of it.
Because that opening was so big.
Yeah.
And there's the cemetery at I can't
You
say
work
the-
with Andrea Whitten then too, don't you?
Yes.
She's a relative of Harold's,
Yeah.
her husband.
Yeah. Bruce doesn't know him didn't know him very well. Doesn't know much of his family history. So that's why we thought we'd come and talk to you, because you've had some contact with Harold when he was alive, and so you've known him since how long? All the way from grade school? You knew Harold since you were going to school?
Yeah, I started school in the same class with him. When would that be? 1927, 28?
That would have put you at 6 years old, 7 years old. You started school at 6 or 7,
years old, yeah.
and then you talked about being graduated. Is that graduating grade 8 or grade 12 or?
We went together till we were grade 8,
Okay.
and then you had to, like all the schools in the area of Mornings Mills, went there to write, and then Shelburne.
Hello.
Say if you had 6 or 8 students in each one of the, you didn't write in your own school. Well,
Here.
Yeah, I'll let you.
Got that.
Are you going to be home? You going to be at home? He'll
But-
give you a call back then.
Harold and Harold came down
Oh,
to
he went
Richmond
out with
State
Bob this afternoon.
because my brother and I had
Okay.
an over horse,
Thanks a lot, Charlie. Right.
and we went to Hornick's Mills. I don't know whether you could recognize the school now; it's been made over into a home, but all that area came there, and I would say there'd be 40 at least wrote their entrance. They called it their entrance examination. And Harold stayed at our place. We'd drive out there and tie the old horse up to the fence. And he wrote so many subjects in the morning and then in the afternoon, and then he'd go home and he'd come back the next day. And that's our group in 2004. Oh, that's what he didn't do. That's my son and Joan and Beth, my oldest daughter, and Gwen.
Debbie and Dennis. Debbie and Dennis.
Oh yeah, Deb and Dennis Skase. Yeah, there were 7 of us in that. I showed you that.
He wants to ask you some questions.
Okay, fire away. What's the name of that, Marla?
Demi Ridge.
Yeah, Bimmy Ridge. Oh, before I forget it, on that 2004, we decided to go back. She wasn't able to go. And I don't know how they got my name. I'll go up and bring it down, shall we? The French government sent me a letter and said I would be decorated at 11:30 on the 6th of June, 2004. I was there, and you wouldn't believe the confusion. Of course, there was, I don't have any idea how many people were there, but one of the things that created confusion, the Queen was there, and Prince Philip, and Bush, and who was a draft dodger from Canada. Oh, he was there, and out of all this confusion, I got it about, and then the language. I didn't understand French, and they had one girl that was good at English, but it was confusing for all the. See, there was, I don't know how many decorated, maybe 800, 700. It wasn't all done there anyway. But they got a Canadian officer about 2:30 in the afternoon and put this thing on me, what ritual and my son said that he was crying when he put it on. He was a Canadian.
It must have been a moment, a very special moment.
It was a special moment for me, but it was a special moment for him. Be a young officer, been in a decoration from the French government on. But I know there is a chap from Grand Valley has one. And there's one in Orangeville and one in Alliston. I met the guy in Grand Valley, and the one in Alliston was a jeweler. We met him by accident. We were there one day. Him and his wife were about, well, we were going to lunch someplace over there. His car pulled in alongside of us, and the mother, he recognized the. Oh, the other thing was, this wasn't to be taken home and put in the upstairs drawer. It was to be wore every place you go, because it wasn't for you. It was appreciation of the French people to the Canadians for coming and liberating their country.
Okay.
So I'll bring it down in a second.
Oh, that'd be great.
Fire away.
Fire away.
Okay, well, a lot of these questions are answered already. How did Harold's relatives react to him going to war?
I don't know how Harold's, because his family had all broke up at that time. I don't know where. The last I knew, he worked on a farm at Violet Hill.
Jim was his father.
Jim Whitten was his father.
Probably
And the
part of
reason that
his
him
father.
and Jim were working for two farmers in the Violet Hill area. And I didn't know it, but that's so many years ago I forgot. But they could walk and visit each other on these two farms were at. But Harold wasn't a drinker or anything like that, not like his father. But then you'd have to be through this. Well, I started to tell you that when I came out of France, to Southampton, I came across on a ship, an LCI, Landing Craft Infantry. The LCT is Landing Craft Tank. The only difference was the T, it opened up the front and everything went out through the front. And the LCI, they walked down the side of the thing. And on this boat that I came back on, there was 3 Canadians, me and 2 others. We were on a little deck up, and then there was the main deck down below us, and it was just standing room only. And I said to one of these sailors, I said, who's them guys? And they said they're prisoner of war. And they were just giggling and laughing and going on, like you wouldn't believe. I couldn't believe it, But then, you see, any smart person would know by that time. That was June, July, August 1944. would know that there was no hope in heck that them ever winning the war. And I talked to a German lady a month or so ago that father was in the service, and it really upset me, to think that I was shooting at her parents and like that. When she got done with her speaking, she was speaking to the vet. I apologized to her. She said, "Hold it." He father didn't have any choice. He said, if we go over again, you guys, he'd dodge the bullets and hope to try and be able to give up, be a prisoner of war, and live. But he said if he refused to go, he'd get a bullet in the head at home. So you see that they didn't have any choice in Germany then. It was even more strict than our draft laws in Canada. But I remember going over. Well, then I can't tell you when this happened, but I've had 2 occasions where I talked to a prisoner of war. And one of these ones was said that they shipped them to England, right? That's where these bunch went, and then they shipped them to Canada. And they put on a train, and he was sent to Alberta. And maybe you've read in your history lessons about the prisoner of war camp in Alberta. They let them work. And he said, believe it or not, he said, we'd steak twice a week. He said, I hadn't had a steak since 1937 in Germany.
Yeah.
He said, I made up my mind then. That was the country I was going to emigrate to. If they got this war over with. So, I'm screwing you up real big time.
No, all of this is good information. That's just fine.
Did Harold have any pets? Like, did he have any pets?
That I wouldn't know. I don't think, because you see, when his mom died, there was 4 and there were 4 of them, and the father moved over to, I think it was Nathan Whitten, a brother that owned the one on the highway. And I don't understand there. He had a daughter, Emily, and then they had a sister there that had lost her husband. So here was 3 families under one roof. And 4, 5, 6, there were 6 or 7 children. So it was like a dog's breakfast of the deal, I think part of the reason too, after Carl's mother passed away, I think he kind of lost the farm just up from the school. But while she was living, I guess she had an influence over Jim Whitten, her husband, but Harold's father. But I think losing her, she was, from what I know of her, she was a terrific lady, and I think that, and I guess I should tell you too, when I got sent back to England, I was only there, I don't know, what they call a convalescent hospital, walking wounded. They sent me to a big hospital in London, England, for medical, I guess, And this doctor, he went all over this thing, and there's nothing we can do for you. So we'll send you home as soon as we get a ship. He said, do you drink? I said, no. Said maybe an odd one with the boys to celebrate, but he said, you better stop. He said, you're going squarely in the head. Imagine, I knew it was an emotional thing to come out of a conflict like that where you've been in there 2 months and all that. But for somebody to tell you that, well, it's good medicine, so you take a glass of whiskey and that nightmare would just disappear, so you take another one. And that's what happened to Jim, look at it. And maybe I'm one of them stubborn Wallaces, but I guess it was 2 months before they got a ship, or maybe longer than that. I got home on the 20th of October, 1944. They got on the boat to come home, and I can remember going over, there was 14,000 on the boat, coming back. It might have been 4. But then the war was still going on. But you take that one picture there that I showed you there, that's 4,200 Canadians were buried in that one cemetery there, just trying to take Con. And I realized then that the medicines that doctor had prescribed had got a hold of me, and I had this lovely little mother back home, and I wasn't going to come home and disgrace her. But for quite a long time after I got home, until I met that little lady at their house, I don't know whether they were too miserable or not, but I don't think they ever owned a bottle of whiskey. So I realized that if I want to be part of her life, I'd have to give it up. So it was an awful struggle to, I had counted on drinking a quart a day, just to keep the nightmares away. But anyway, I think that's what happened to Jim. And then losing her added to the load for Harold and their parents. And Harold was a very easygoing chap, like he wasn't quarrelsome or anything like that. His brother Fred, the next one older, had a stutter. He was, and it was Fred, and then Harold, and then Dorothy, and then Clifford. And I forgot who Dorothy married. It doesn't matter anyway. But
I think they actually have that listed in the newspaper clipping, her married name, because we do have a clipping of from when he was finally announced that he was killed in action. Because originally he was listed as missing.
Yeah.
And then a little bit later it was confirmed that he was killed in action, and they
that's the way they done it. They didn't give you the bad news as long as they could avoid it, but then nobody knows except the draft people, or whether Carl was killed instantly or whether he lived a day or a month. But we felt fortunate. Well, our first trip over, we didn't miss many 2 veteran cemeteries.
And Harold, he's buried in Holland. Harold's buried in Holland.
I think we have, I think Joan gave us the actual
name of the cemetery.
Yes. I don't think that's on Cole's itinerary when he goes over there next year. We were hoping that it would be in the list so he could actually go and visit that particular Harold's grave. But yeah, it's not that it's not part of it, the tour. So
it's a big country, and
you don't go
you
into
can't do it
Holland.
all.
You don't go into Holland, do you?
For one day?
Yeah, we go into Holland for a bit.
For one.
Yeah.
One thing that you'll really realize is how much those people over there appreciate Canadians. Man, yes. After I was out of uniform and nobody seemed to give a damn in Canada whether you were a veteran or whether you weren't. And then when we went over there, we all had maple leaf. Get one before you go, and make that distinguish you from Americans. And then people would stop in the street and
we took a lot of maple leaf pins. I took a lot of maple leaf pins and gave away over there.
Yeah, well, I imagine the Legion will all have leaves for them before they go, and if they don't, well, I'm trying to make a point.
We got them. I got them down at Tilson's office.
Oh yeah, they get them out of Tilson's office. That's right. Yeah, with maple leaf in Holland and Germany, and let's face it, don't get me wrong. There was a lot of nice German people. They didn't all want to go to war. I've met some German people in this country, and they were just ordinary people like you and me.
Cole's Oma, her farm was taken over and occupied by the Germans, and so they did have a German soldier constantly there before they were freed, and she just said he was just a young lad, didn't want to be there. He was just, doing his job,
Yeah.
and she couldn't dislike him. She just couldn't. So
I was thinking your name is probably a Dutch name, isn't it?
yeah. My husband is my husband's Dutch. So
Another thing I'd like to say too, I never learned to hate of this war. So many of the Canadian boys, just, well, if you had a buddy and he got shot and killed or something like that, that just took over their whole life and their whole focus. But I just approached this thing, that they didn't want it any more than Hitler had them under his thumb, and they had to do what they're told, or he bung bung. And you got to think, that how could a country sit there and see 6 million Jewish neighbors be taken away and destroyed, gassed, put them in the furnace and burnt them up and put the ashes back on the field. So
yeah.
That's pretty horrendous, really, to think about.
You wonder how he could sleep at night.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I could probably see that in that period in Harold and I's life, we weren't together anymore, but the only thing I'd like to leave you with that, he was a wonderful friend. He was managed the time. He was only a little runt of a kid, and I was a big from age. I was 120 when I was 12 years old, so imagine when I come out of France, I was back to 120. But if somebody picked on Harold, well, I'd give him a...
You were Harold's personal bodyguard?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Some of the, in those days there was 40-some in the school, and there were some bullies, and the only way to put them in their place is give them a punch in the mouth. They punch back, they hang in there, so not the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
We still got bullies around too.
Yeah. I think society's more aware of them now than they might have been back then.
Right.
And you have a little bit more help, I think, but
Yeah.
They never seem to go away.
Yeah. And it's something I don't understand, because I was the Macombs one, I was one of the bigger kids in the school, but I want to be friends with them. I don't want to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you got in that paper, Dad?
What's next, Cole? So you got a little bit of what he's like. Easygoing, you said.
Yeah.
Was he more quiet, or was he more outgoing?
Very quiet, and I know you would have liked to have him for a friend. Yeah.
What games or sports did he like to play?
He was a pretty good ball player. Yeah,
Baseball?
he was a pretty good ball player. We had enough in our school. We had enough for two sides. And,
What position did he like to play? Any
one
particular
thing I
one?
tell you, if he started to run there, Dad, you'd be darn sharp to catch him. Man, he could run like a deer.
Mhm.
Said what position did he play in the ball team?
Did he have a particular spot on the team?
I think we had him in the field because he could cover a lot of area. I was the pitcher. Marshall Andrew was the catcher. I think they had him in the... See, there's no use of selling somebody out there with club feet. The ball, they had a fly ball and pull along. You had to have somebody that could skip along.
Okay. Anything else, Cole?
What were some of Harold's best or worst subjects, like in particular, in school?
I think he had any.
Would you say he's a pretty good student
Oh, yeah.
all around?
Excellent. Excellent. Very quiet. Of course, him and I had a kind of a bond from we were grade 3 on, I guess. Sometimes we'd talk a thing over. I was what you call a fast reader. My mom was a reader. You know what a reader means. Somebody that just loves to read. Well, there. And sometimes, you know, he didn't call me Wally. I never got Wallace like I got in the service. Then you never got your first name. I don't know what they called him in the service. But we could sit down and talk something over, and he'd get ideas, you know. But he didn't have that. Probably didn't have the opportunity I had, because my family wasn't as poor as his, and my mom used to just encourage all of us to read. She said that's the greatest thing in the world for knowledge, you know. She said you don't have to go to school if you can read good enough. Oh. And like even then, I can start a book maybe in the morning and have it done in the afternoon.
Yeah, you are a fast reader. Oh, but definitely.
Like,
there's one underneath the photo album. There's a book there.
Yeah, that one there, I'd like to burn it, but it's about child soldiers, and it's horrible what they've done in Africa with kids making soldiers out of them.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
I hate to read it, but I know it's the truth. It's Hillier's book.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when I get into back at the school, when I get into some of the areas of the library, we were fortunate too. We got a new school in 1928, and I went to the old one for a little while. I guess Harold was there too. I was going to school for a couple of years before he really zeroed in. Maybe because he was always down alongside of me. I don't know. But some of the schools didn't have the opportunity. We had a library room. There was a ton of books in there. We must have had a few people over there. Mr. Broderick was one, Connie and their father, Mrs. Matthews, that were educated people, and when the school was built, school's no good without books and things, and we had 2 or 3 times the number of books that they had in lots of schools. And books that, you know, oriented to subjects and not just, I mean, I like a good romance story or something, you know. But
have a little bit of different types of books to read. And the you're talking about the school, the new school being built. Now, when you said you went to either Hornings Mills or Shelburne, that was later on in years, right? Like that was towards after grade 8?
Yeah, that's where grade 8 went right there, entered. But that was in force for a lot of years.
You didn't actually go to school there, though. You didn't actually go to school there. You just went there to write your...
That's just where you went for your final examination. And you see, if you didn't get a good enough mark, you have to go back to the school you came from and spend another year.
And your school that you both you and Harold went to, was that here in Shelburne?
We I think by choice we took Hornings Mills, because
the
Cronin girl and Clark didn't go with us, so they must have went to Shelburne. No, they went to Dundalk now when I come to think of it. They went to Dundalk because somebody told me that Clark's father got him a bicycle, and he went to high school in Dundalk, and he lived just south of the Corberton Road, and in one road from 10 Highway. So he had quite a hike on the bicycle every morning.
But Harold never went to high school.
No, Harold never went to. There was no money for him to go, and
you had to pay for high school? Did you have to pay for high school, or?
I don't remember that. The only thing I remember, like for my sisters, it was so much a week for room and board and all that.
Oh, okay,
And then purchasing of books and things.
right.
They didn't have.
So from grade 1 to grade 8, you went to Hornings Mills, or was it
Oh no,
here?
when Harold and I went to that there, SS number 9.
SS number
It's still
9.
on a block there.
Way out in Malaxon.
Eh?
Over in Malaxon, near the
Yeah.
Catholic Church.
You go up the highway there, so you see that Catholic church, and come back in one road, and there's a building still sitting there. I took a drive to see it, and when they built it, they put a block in the front of it, and it's got SS number 9 on it.
Okay. Now, is that near where Andrea Whitten lives? Because she lives up to 280 Side Road, and there's a church before up in that area. That's the road you're talking about? Okay.
Yeah, he got the place that I'm talking about where the whole family went to.
Okay.
But they're not there now. They sold that,
Yeah, they built on the side road.
and they're on the Catholic side road. That's right. There was no house where Angie and him. They bought a lot there, built a house on it, I think. But I don't know. What does he do?
He makes airplane parts, I think, or something along those lines.
Something along that line.
Yeah.
And she worked with you.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's they're on the. If you're coming in back that side road, they're on the south side of the road. The house is back in, we can see it. And that when you get to that corner there. Some of the buildings are gone. The first school I went to, of course, they tore it down because it had been up forever. But I haven't been back there for a while. But my nephew is on that road. He's running the Wallace. Rick Wallace is running the Wallace Potato Farms.
Okay.
And him and his mother don't get along, and so she sold half of the Wallace Potato Farm. By the way, my brother and I paid the mortgage off on that in 1930, so we got $1 a piece. That's a lot to help for. My baby brother, he got. My father offered to me when he got to look at her. Thought maybe that would coax her in, but I said, no, you got another son. And you see, I qualified for Veterans Land Act.
Okay.
Before you got, well, when her and I went up for Joan and Bob, we started there with $4,000 mortgage, 29 years to pay it, 3% interest. If you, and the first year was $79.
Oh boy.
Oh, you know, years or something like that. But
Yeah.
I couldn't understand. You know, all kinds of veterans got the same opportunity. They must have wood in their head if they couldn't. If you couldn't make that much off a
Right.
farm in a year. Whew.
Yeah. Did you think Harold went to church in Corbiton there, or because he wasn't part of the Catholic church that was on?
He was Protestant.
He was, okay.
Yeah.
That
would be the one he'd go to. That's the one they moved out to the
museum. Yeah.
museum.
We actually still have property out in Corbiton ourselves, so we had moved there before they moved the church out, just before they moved that out, by about a year or so. And yeah.
I used to know quite a number of people in Corbiton, the Stevenson family and heirs.
Do you know the Dixons?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, she was there for a few years before she passed away. She
The
passed
Ayers
away.
family would be long before your time.
Okay.
They had an elevator there, and father's name was Sid. Jack and Dave, and Jack was overseas. Dave was. Oh, Jim. Jim was overseas too. There was two of the boys went to war, and Dave had a bad heart, and he got to be the head of the co-op store in Dunbar.
Okay.
And him and two brothers married two sisters. Duncans, I think they were from Riverview. And Dave died young. He had a history all his life of bad heart. But Jack and Jim, they lived for, not as old as me. But I never thought of that. Could have been two veterans. So they're both buried in Shelburne.
Would you say that a lot of the young guys at that time came from Shelburne? Like, was there a lot of soldiers enlisted from here?
So
Yeah.
more than a lot of areas.
Okay.
I didn't realize that until after making this trip back over there and seeing the appreciation of the people out over there for the homeland. I started a thing of putting the crosses on veterans' graves.
You done this? You done the monument first. You
Done the stone
monument.
first, but the stone is another. It doesn't identify each veteran, but see, down east, there seemed to have a greater appreciation. The veterans down there would have these crosses on their grave when they passed away. But some groups had, we got them, they're made down there at Williamstown. Veteran here went down there to bury his father and come back with us and showed me this thing. And I said, you know, all the World War I veterans, like Jim Whitten's, he passed away and he was buried in Shelburne there. And my uncle Mel Little was buried in Shelburne there. No, nobody was any different than the guy next door. That bothered me.
Mm-hmm.
If that guy put his neck on the line, he should be able to be identified for the next 100 years. So I started, well, I went to the Legion.
Okay.
And the Legion, the lady stood up and moved that Ken Wallace could have $6,000. And these crosses were, at that time, around $20 a piece.
Now, are they actually tombstone crosses? Is that what you're talking about? Like the actual, or is it,
Did I get past you?
you betcha.
I'm going to show you one.
Miss Joan just had another day at work, didn't it?
Yeah, she only has one full day tomorrow, and then whether she actually goes to 3 o'clock Friday, I'm not too sure. But oh, she's not feeling very good whatsoever, and it's just too bad. She's really suffering from the pneumonia these last few weeks or so.
Didn't come down to Christmas. She wasn't up to it.
No, she said she didn't leave her house at all. So, okay. Actually, Cole, I'm gonna have you take a look at that.
That's
So,
actually big heavy.
yes, it is. I was surprised that.
That has to be purchased through the Legion.
So that would be.
That the Populon and RCL, Royal Canadian Legion. Now, I never ever got the $6,000. We don't go into any elaborating. There's some skullduggery went on in the Legion in there, and that money was supposed to come out of the Poppy Fund, and all the money disappeared. So a lot of it came out of that.
I probably read about that.
But an awful lot of people have been interested in this. That now, the price went up a wee bit. It's $25 what you're looking at. Now, for $25, all kinds of, well, then I went back to Legion now since they got this new man in, and I said, you know, they shouldn't, a family comes to the Legion here, they know about this, you shouldn't be asking them for money for it. Give it to them. So they passed a motion now. See, it happens now occasionally, but a couple of times last year that the veteran had passed away and they go to the Legion to get it. Because there's over 100 of them in Shelburne
This is
Okay.
about 500 of them.
And they're placed beside their
Right up against
gravestones?
the stone.
Right up against the stone?
Yeah.
Now, do you know if, I know Harold's buried in Holland, he's got a tombstone in Holland. Did they have anything here for him as well?
No.
No.
Oh, but I'm pretty sure that there's a cross up for him and Jim and Shelby.
No, okay.
But I think his name's on the Whitten stone. I must check on that, just to make sure.
Because if there isn't one there for him, Cole and I wouldn't mind purchasing one to put there for him.
Well, I'll look into it. But if his name's on, because I know we've done other ones, like the Paget Boys, and another was Bob Brett
Yes, I think.
that went down and then looked up. Well, he has a stone, Bob and Mary and Jack from that family.
Okay.
Well, there was nobody left to put it, so I put them on for them.
Okay.
The only catch is now, I'm not able to replace them flags. But in Honeywood Cemetery, the caretaker takes that flags in the fall, after 11th November, brings them back out, so they get a couple of years out of them. And I got a special deal with a factory, a flag factory in Barrie. You get 100 of them for $150 plus tax.
I'm wondering if the Canadian government would donate them.
You would think
Well,
they should.
I went to the Member
Yeah.
of Parliament when
Yeah.
I started, and he ignored me.
Sheila Copps was giving out the huge flags. Remember that years ago, and they were just,
That's right.
you know, anybody who wants them, just ask for them, and they'd send them out.
Yeah, I remember that.
But I have a list of the cemeteries. Creemore, Honeywood, Orange Mills,
Mansfield,
Mansfield, right?
Grand Valley.
Grand Valley. Oh, that's a story in itself. When all this money started disappearing and I was working out of my own pocket and with what people would donate, I went down to Grand Valley. The first thing I done was put that stone there in Shelby. And then all of that was just this ton went to each of these municipalities and got a donation of money. And then through Mr. McBride, got that stone from China.
Lost soldiers.
For lost soldiers over there.
Okay.
But back to this thing, went down to, well, I called the clerk of Grand Valley, went down to a meeting, and I stood up, explained to them that the money had dried up and what I was doing, and they must have done some homework on. When I got done speaking, I apologized to them that I couldn't afford to do their cemetery. Ken said, Mr. Wallace went in and reached down under his desk, handed me a check for $1,350. He said, Grand Valley will look after, and Luther will look after their own veterans. And that covered 60 veterans.
Okay.
And Mom and I went down once after that and took a drive through just to see, you know, if they had done it. And
Yeah.
they missed one that we knew.
Oh,
But
okay.
we never told them about it. We just done it. But they have in their office down there, they have a thing of all these names, and they have maybe half a dozen of them, and I give them a card for the flag factory, and they're looking after their own. And Bud Webster looks after one in Orange Mills. He does the same thing. He takes but Shelburne Cemetery, they said the cadets is going to do it.
Okay.
It's a big job in Shelburne. Oh, that's 22 acres now. It's a different thing. Well, she was helping me. She couldn't walk anymore. But the amazing thing was that I could take crosses up to Bud Webster and, you know, that the funny smell ones like this. And he'd say, you just leave them at the door when I'm not home. I said, I'll put them on. Same with that. Well, it was Doney in Shelburne. He retired, and now there's Bev Stewart. Same thing, we go there and just didn't look after them. But I'm wondering, you know, down the road. But anyway, one donation, they wanted to know if how long that cross would last. So I know, well, that's something I never done. I never phoned that guy for Christmas. His name is Keith Mullen, Williamstown, Nova Scotia, and I called him. And I got this request. He said, I can't answer you, and Ken. He said, we have them out here since 1972, and they look just as good as.
Well, I guess they could answer you to some extent.
Yeah, they're aluminum alloy, see, so they never rust or anything.
Okay. That's
And,
beautiful. Yeah, they're very nice.
Yeah. Yeah, there's one in Alberta, an old veteran friend. And,
Did you design it yourself?
well, that was designed like that.
Okay.
And you can have it without the flag, but I thought it looked nicer with the flag.
Yeah, the
You
flag
say a lot of the cemeteries in Nova Scotia and Cape Breton.
probably catch your eye really well.
Just,
Very nice.
so that was supposed to be Ken Wallace someday.
So,
But what I like about it is, though, now, is that you can identify World War Ones and Twos. They're all the same.
oh, are they?
But those guys, but they worked from 1918 till 1939. Now people know who they are.
Okay.
And the sad part was they asked me to read the names of the wee white shirts of criminals. When I got done, a lady came up and said, "You haven't got my Uncle Will there." She said to myself, punching me in the mouth. She, all these years to come out and say, "Hey."
Yeah.
So I said, "Well, where is it?" In Shelburne Cemetery. And he gave me an idea. So the next day I went in. And the Legion of now is this Mr. What's his name? No matter, anyway. They've taken over, and they have. And there's another chap that isn't in Dufferin County. I guess he's really considered himself Dufferin, but he's got interest in this, and he's putting them on the cemeteries, Colgan and other places outside of Dufferin.
Okay.
And he's using his own money, so I think he's a fairly wealthy man. He's what?
Well, some
80?
of them pay for them.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he says a lot of them will pay for it. And it's surprising, you know, you go to put that up for a family, and someone will insist on paying for it, and they feel it's theirs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
They
you-
probably feel it's the least they can do, considering. Yeah.
And there's one up, there's two up. There's one for Mary Brett, and there's one for Alice May Gordon's mother. She was an underground Dutch girl that Canadian married.
Okay.
When she passed away, I had the full control of things, and I went and got her one, and she had, when the day they buried your mother, she put the cross on it.
Very nice. Very nice.
To identify. And well, they should, because man, oh man, that lady contributed more to the war than half the guys.
What did she do?
She was a underground Dutch nurse.
Okay.
One word, you know, that could have put a bullet in her brain.
Right. Yeah.
She met Les Jordan, and I wonder if anybody got Les Jordan's name. I think somebody phoned about what I knew about Les Jordan. But he has a sister from Langston there that they could get information on him.
So the only relatives that Harold has right now, I guess, would be like Bruce, Whitten. Is there anybody older than him? Because I don't think either one of their parents have.
What's that lady's name that's married to Whitten?
Eh?
A lady that's married to Whitten. It's at the Legion all of them.
Chris? No, but she was married to some of Clifford's family. So I asked her about it, but she
Okay.
wouldn't.
Okay. Did you have any other questions, Cole?
Do you know any of Harold's heroes or inspirations, that sort of thing?
I would. You know, I never. One thing I never knew about Harold is whether he ever had a girlfriend or not. See, to that period of our life, we were separated, and I can still remember the last time I seen him always, and met him in town there, but just along with the martial arts place at our last visit. I never met him in the service or anything. I went over with a chap from Riverview, a Brown. His wife's in Southern. Betty Brown. I went over with the same boat with her husband. He's dead and gone a long time. Oh, they haven't got a bin for me, I guess. All my old buddies have gone. I'll be 89 on my birthday.
When's your birthday?
May 21st.
Mine's May 23rd. Yeah.
That's a good month.
It is.
I
was born on Victoria Day.
The 22nd.
What's that?
Oldest daughter's the 22nd.
Oh, there you go.
She was trying to get me a birthday present.
Oh, there you go. It was a late birthday present.
24 hours late.
Oh, very good. Any other questions?
Do you know any of Harold's hobbies?
I can't think of anything particular. I know he used to like to come and stay at our place, but that was different. We had a different lifestyle in our home with his little mom. He was just treated like another one of a brother. No, I can't help you in that area.
What did you do in your leisure time? What would Harold do in his leisure time when you were here, when he was with you? And
Mostly work.
mostly work? Okay. And that was on the farm?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So was he...
I enjoyed farming. I guess that's maybe one of the reasons why I didn't go back to being a machinist, because there's, I don't know, maybe having her on the farm. She said she wouldn't marry a farmer. She didn't. But anyway, we had a wonderful life. We were 30 years up there, and 35 here. 36 years. We designed this. See, right from the time that I was kicked out of France, they told me that I would be a couple, that thing would eventually. So we moved that farm up there. We put a new, it had a veranda around it, and we put it in that you could go in with a wheelchair. And then we designed this place in 1974. And, you know, you can see there's an elevator in there. And we can go out to the garage with one of these and get in the vehicle and press a button on the dash, and the door will go up, and you go out and press the button. Come up the road and turn in, press the button, and the door will go up with a storm and a rain. She's been crippled for 2 or 3 years now, but we can get inside and put the door down and design. Like my friend Ray Hardick, he built that house that they lived in, and he had a bullet in the knee for all.
It was still in there?
And still they built that house. You couldn't go any place. You were going upstairs and downstairs. I used to tell my kids, use this. It's the best friend you got. I'm telling you. That's the best friend you got.
He definitely does, that's for sure.
Don't take bad advice. Think it over.
Anything else?
Do you know what Harold would have done with his life if he survived the war?
No, I don't remember if Edmund had any conversations with him.
The only thing he knew was farming.
Eh?
It's the only thing he knew was farming.
Yeah, that's all he knew was farming. And he wasn't afraid to work. And the other thing I was telling you, he was such a little wee runt when he was going to school. I think he was pushing 6 feet when I seen him. Maybe the last time. Because, well, it was after we graduated. Of course, we were both 14. See, my brother next to me was a runt. And he grew 5 inches the year he turned 16. So Harold was the same. He was small till after he got out of school, and he was a tall man when I last time I seen him. Well, I was 5'10" and a half, and I think he'd be about around 5'10" and a half long. But for some reason or other, as the years went by, the one time I had to go back every month for x-rays and things on this thing. The one time I was in there, and she said, taking all this stuff down, said the girl with the pencil, 5'8" and a half. I said, there's something wrong here. I said, I was 5'10" and a half. No, she said, you're not now, but she said, you're normal. I didn't realize it. When you got up into your 70s and like that.
Starting to shrink a little bit. Yeah.
And they said heavy-set people shrink more than beanpole type.
I guess so much compression on the spine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That the joints.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What
But
else?
anyway, for what it's worth, the country's been good to me. I think I earned, but when I come back, my first, let's see, it'd be 44 when I got home. The war was over in 45. After the war was over, I got this envelope from the government with all this stuff on it. They awarded me a pension for life at $3.65 a month.
And does that go up, or is that always going to?
That's went up.
You know, they had married her, and her name had to go on the papers, and they raised it to 9.
Oh,
And in those days, it just about paid the hydro bill on the farm up there.
Oh.
See, most farms didn't have hydro, and I had made up my mind if I did farm, I was going to be a hydro. I wasn't going to be one of these places you go around with a lantern and all that old fashioned stuff.
right, right.
So that one was all just up nice like that. But anyway, get on with it over the years. They've been good to us, you know. Like, well, for example, one day there was a truck pulled up to the door there and pressed the doorbell, and she went to the door. Said, where do you want this chair? She said, what chair? The Department of Veterans Affairs has sent a chair for your husband, and this is it.
Oh. And you didn't even ask for it, they just sent it.
They just brought it in for them.
Wow.
I paid $1,600 for one for her.
Was that before or after you got that chair? Did you have to have...
And, how many years would be the elevator thing in? 6 years?
It must be.
At least, that's the third one. I really didn't want a lot of this stuff, you know, like, the pension went up and all. And the funny part was, they might go 5 years. Of course, they kept calling you back. If they called me to go into Toronto, they would give me, I think it was $14. So much for lunch and so much for gas. We were doing that when we were up on the farm, remember that? And if they decided that they should be paying more pension, they figured it out from that day back to way back. One time they sent a check for $1,500 or something like that from the way. As time went on, but I had, when I couldn't get up the stairs anymore, and if I did, well, I'd have to lay on the floor up there for a while. Went to the Legion and got one of these chairs, and when the lady came to checking me out, she said, "Where'd you get that?" And I said, "I got it from the Legion." She said, "It's not bothering me a bit either because I've paid my dues for 60 years. She said, "Take it back." I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "We'll buy you one." She said, "Somebody might need one in the Legion for a week or two, and you got it," and she said, "You're going to need one as long as you live. We'll buy you one." I guess that's the one they bought, I don't know. But anyway, then the guy across the road, they bought one over and gave it to Mom. We bought that one, and we have one in the car and one here, and we've one upstairs. I can get around better than she can. I don't know if I'm not using enough stick on her.
And I guess that would make sense. I never really thought about, you know, you needing it on both floors, but I guess that would make sense because you can't really haul them upstairs at all.
I could run races until 3 years ago, and then I took a stroke.
Oh.
Well, I'm very grateful her mind's good and everything, but from the waist down she can hardly shuffle her feet.
Yeah.
And I have a thing for her to step on to get into the car.
But you're still going, you're still getting around, and as best you can, so.
And let's say we've been very fortunate right from the start. Well, I guess we weren't stupid either, but we made money, and we didn't drink it all up or anything, and we're comfortable and give away $10,000 or $12,000 a year. So I just feel so sorry for people that get in their 80s like us that can't buy food or don't have money to have things.
Yeah, yeah.
But at the same time, maybe some of the ones that grew up with us, they made money, but they threw it away as fast as they did.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter what generation it is. It's still the same. Yeah.
And like I have one grandson, he can work. He's a huge man and everything. I said to him, you know, what's the use of you getting up in the morning? He said, "What do you mean, Grandpa?" Well, I said, "Hell, you never have a buck in your pocket, and if you get your paycheck, well, he was driving a truck to the west for $25 an hour, so it was something like $200 and something a day, and be broke all the time." I said, of course he'd buying phones and trinkets and, oh, you can get rid of it. But you got to think of down the road there someday that
Got to kind of plan ahead.
yeah, if you
Definitely.
out to the shed there, that's our 14th new car. It's just on the other side of the wall. And this was a luxury. This was put in where the old-fashioned fireplace. And of course, when we owned the whole farm, we had a bush and everything. We had our own wood, and I was able to get the wood. But
This is a gas fireplace here, right?
it's gas now, and it's just so wonderful. It's just
So much easier.
Propane, yeah.
you never have to do anything with it. Only write the check out for the fuel.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes that's definitely easier because we have in Corrigan, in our other place, we do have a wood stove, and we spend usually a couple weeks splitting and
Yeah.
Yeah.
stacking, and yes, yeah, and that'll set us for the rest of the year. But they're 2 long weeks, so
We built the house, we built the garage long enough to put enough wood in the back end of it for the winter, but we can't do it anymore, so we're not fretting about it. So this is easier.
nope. Might as well take it easy and
And I can't understand, the people who run this Department of Veterans Affairs. That chair, I guess, is in a couple of years. Wasn't in more than 4 or 5 months, and I got a letter from them saying, "You own it."
oh,
Telephone number on it. If anything goes wrong, phone this number. They will pay for repair. I just couldn't figure that one out. So, when we put this in and the chair and what else was to come at that time, I said, well, what happens here? I said, when you kick the bucket, we'll pull up the door of the truck and we'll throw in everything we can get our hands on. They call it Veterans Cupboard. See, the Department of Veterans Land have a terminal where they have chairs and what have you, and these things, and beds. One of my veteran friends has got a hospital bed for his wife that's had bad stroke, and so keeps her at home.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't realize that some of these things, that chair over there, what you call it, a chair, was $4,000.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not cheap.
But it's wonderful now, and she has to have it too. Like there's a call thing there that she can go up on, and I can bring it back down with the button and get on and go up, and wonderful.
Okay.
And we have this cat around here. She'd like to ride on it.
Yep, she was here earlier.
I put her to bed.
Hey?
I put her to bed.
Oh, you did.
No nuisance.
Yeah.
So did you have any other questions, or?
There's a couple more. Did Harold have any fears, like big fears? Are you scared of him?
I don't think so.
Do you know if he fought alongside any of his friends?
Well, I doubt it very much. The only other word the way you're using that, though, if you're with the same guys for a while, they're your friend. And if you hate the guy at the start, you're going to hate him at the end, too. This guy I'm telling you about that didn't know how to rule his rifle, we were in there, a month and a half, I guess. And he's always getting us into trouble. And then my brother stayed at home and gave me a little pocket knife like that. And everybody was warring the thing off. You know, if we got a package from home, they needed broken neck.
Yeah.
He got the thing. The next day I said, where's my knife in there? He said, I give it away. So they gave us a little French gift. I said, I'll cut your throat. Corporal said, can you do us a favor if you would? I couldn't catch the sucker. I had to cut his throat.
Wow.
I said, we don't need people like you.
It was crazy.
But anyway, that's getting away from the subject again.
Did Harold have any, like, important heirlooms or stuff like that?
I don't think so. No, I don't. I can't help you in that area.
Okay. And what kind of impact did Harold have on people's lives?
Well, that everybody that I knew had the utmost respect for him. What more could you have than that?
Okay.
The utmost respect for him. He was 100%. I know if he was here and I was in that hole over there, he would say the same thing too. He was that kind of a guy. Yeah. You know, he was the kind of a guy, my kind of a guy. If you can't stand that guy, just stay away from him. You know? He was that kind of a guy. What's the use of going over and smacking him one in the mouth? That's what he should have. But ignore him. That's the kind of a guy Harold was. If he was your friend, boy, you were lucky. Yeah, that's the way I felt about him. Yeah. And you know, I couldn't say a bad word about his father. Norma made a home for him. See, that place up there had 2 sets of stairs, and Jim had his own area and everything, and she done it washing for him. And see, my father and him were kind of in the same age and everything, and I have father saying some of the things that she done for him that nobody else had ever done. But I was thinking, you know, he was wife was gone for 50 years. It's been a long period of your life that you would miss those things that a lady could, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway. No.
Did you have anything else?
I couldn't elaborate any more than that he was a prince of a guy.
We appreciate the time you've given us tonight. Much appreciated. I know sometimes it can bring up some good feelings and some bad feelings, so it's, yeah.
You could take that cross, you don't have to sit and hold it. Get a bit heavy.
I had a lady phone from Avalon in Orangeville
Oh,
and
Do you
said,
mind
"You
if
the
I
guy
take
with
a
the
photocopy of
crosses?"
this
And I
one?
said, "Yeah."
Ken might even
She
have
said, "I'd
one.
like one."
Okay.
Ken,
Do you want me to give you those, or?
have you got
Because
a,
my Jim passed away, and she told me where he lives, so when I went to Orangeville, I took her one down. Said, "What it's going to cost me? It's not going to cost you anything." She started to cry, and she got her arms around me, and she said, "I feel better if I pay for my daughter."
Mm-hmm.
Ken, have you got a copy of that picture?
Can I take a photocopy of that?
You can have that. I've got
You
another one
have
the
a
same.
copy of it, haven't you?
I've got another one the same. And you know, if I, I just got to show you this handsome guy here. That's me there.
That's you,
And
okay.
that's my brother.
Oh, these are different pictures. So that one's, so you're standing beside your brother?
Yeah. Here we are again. I seem to have a lot more hair there than